Join us now, House Majority Leader Steve Scalise. I guess you got a good seat, Majority Leader.
It's going to be an exciting night. I'll be escorting the president in to the House chamber for what I think is going to be a real invigorated speech by the president. He always delivers when it's, when it comes to talking to the American people about laying out his vision, how we get our country back on track. The theme is actually renewing the American dream, and it's been dormant for a few years. President Trump has brought back a lot of hope. He's going to bring back opportunity. We have an agenda that we're laying out that we're actually starting to pass through Congress, that once you see it implemented, it's going to work for those hardworking families who have been struggling. And I think President Trump's going to get into a lot of those details that is going to excite the American people.
Leader Scalise, do you expect the president to be full steam ahead across the board on some of the things that we talk about on a daily basis? And you see the world right now, depending on where you're standing, you see how people are viewing some of the policies in the first 6 weeks, whatever you want to call it. Would you see anything like, well, we'll see how the tariffs work, we would like some progress, and they may not be on for that long, or any sort of comforter in chief for people that maybe are watching so much change so quickly and are a little bit, I don't know, discombobulated by or fearful? Or do you expect just, I expect just full steam ahead. I don't expect any of that.
Yeah, and I don't think people are fearful. I think they're excited, but as you pointed out, there's been a lot that's happened in just 2 months, and it's a contrast. Think about this. We went through 4 years of a president where you wouldn't even see him for days at a time. The press, you folks couldn't even talk to the president for months at a time because he wouldn't even do press conferences. Donald Trump has freewheeling press conferences all the time. I mean, the moment you saw in the Oval Office with Zelensky came because not only did they invite the press in for a few pictures, they actually took questions. And frankly, it exposed that Donald Trump's been trying to get peace, and he's trying to bring both sides together. And clearly Zelensky didn't want a peace deal that day. Maybe Zelensky will. I hope he does for the people of Ukraine. But Donald Trump had a deal on the table, and Zelensky didn't want to reach it. So, you see that because the president's open and transparent. What I think you're going to see tonight is more of an opportunity to kind of sit back and look at the full vision over the next, 6 months to a year. What are the things we're going to do to help those struggling families? President Trump ran saying, we're going to make the tax cuts permanent, but also do things like no tax on tips, stop a massive multi-trillion-dollar tax increase that's coming if Congress takes no action. We're now taking action, working with President Trump so that you can actually get more certainty in the economy. Small businesses are sitting back waiting right now because after Joe Biden attacked every small business in America with rules, regulations that made it hard to create jobs, pushed more jobs overseas, President Trump has already taken action to reverse some of those things, to start bringing jobs back. But until we get a stable tax code, which we're going to do in these next few months, a lot of that money's still sitting on the sidelines. And I think President Trump can give real certainty and calm by laying out what he expects Congress to do to deliver and what he's going to continue to do with things like DOGE to root out waste, fraud, and abuse. And as much as, the Washington elite classes seems to be having a tantrum over the idea that people actually have to show up for their jobs. Everybody in America that's going to be watching tonight, they've been showing up for their jobs for the last 3 years. It's only in Washington where this parallel universe goes on. And finally, Washington has to do their job like everybody else.
Congressman, but some of the uncertainty or headwinds of all the regulation on small businesses and corporations from the Biden administration, some of that has actually been supplanted by tariff talk. And I guess my question would be, if the president were to continue to see the stock market underperform, and I'm not saying it's done that yet. It's down, I think the S&P's down less than 5%. We have pullbacks all the time. We have corrections of 10%. But if that were to continue, if the GDP or the economy actually had a negative print, I don't know if it will, but the Atlanta Fed is now talking about that. We heard from Elon Musk that there might be some near-term pain through DOGE and some of the other programs. How much is the president prepared to watch things like that happen before he might reverse some of these policies that might be great for the long term, but there may be some near-term pain?
Well, I think the more President Trump can lay out the vision to most Americans who really, maybe are getting their news sources from one or two places, to really understand just what the long-term range plan is, and also how it's going to work for families across this country. I've seen it. I've talked to the president about this, and he articulates things like reciprocal tariffs in a way that I don't think he's explained to the full country yet, where you've got a lot of countries that take advantage of the United States, and they have tariffs against us, and we don't have any against them. And he's going to put, let's say, a reciprocal tariff on a country equal to what they have on us, and then the minute that that country drops their tariff on us, we drop theirs on them. And so your ultimate goal is to have no tariffs by anybody against anybody. If you have zero tariffs worldwide, that's where President Trump really wants to go. Unfortunately, a lot of countries take advantage of us with tariffs on us, and we don't have any on them. That's what he's, I think, going to lay out in terms of the reciprocal tariffs, which most countries will face. What you're seeing with China, Canada, and Mexico specifically is dealing with the fentanyl trade. And look, President Trump was very transparent about this during the campaign, talking about border security, talking about the drugs. China makes the fentanyl. They bring them into our country through Mexico, and China's open, and Mexico and Canada's open borders, and it kills over 150 young Americans every single day. Biden didn't do anything about that for 4 years. We're losing hundreds of thousands of great young people, and nobody was doing anything. Trump's doing something about it and telling these other countries, help us stop this flow of poison into America, or else there's a price to pay. And if they help us, those tariffs will probably go away as well. But I think these countries now have to take a look inside and go, you know what? We have to stop dealing in drugs. Mexico is finally having a reckoning with the cartels, where the cartels seem to be running the country. That can't happen anymore. China's got to stop producing fentanyl to poison Americans. Imagine if we were making a product in America that was poisoning people in other countries, and they finally said, America, stop doing it. We should stop doing it anyway, but this is going to get their attention.
Leader Scalise, is this more, though, about the fentanyl, or is this more about just feeling it's an unfair trade situation to begin with? If they agree to do more on the fentanyl front and trying to shut that down, you said you think this goes away?
Yeah, I think this is all about the fentanyl. And again, with other countries, it's about fairness. Reciprocal tariffs, meaning if they've got a 12 or 15% tariff on America and we're at zero, why are they treating us unfairly? What President Trump is saying, he would put a 10 or 15% tariff on them until they dropped to zero. And then we would drop to zero. So it's on those countries at that point to say, okay, we've been taking advantage of America for a long time, but Trump's finally saying the game's over. And now we've got to actually treat America like they treat us. We're treating a lot of our friends really well, and they're not doing the same to us when it comes to trading around the globe. Let's get back to truly fair trade. Everybody says they want fair trade until you look at the rules and you realize we're the only ones treating other countries fair, and they're not returning the favor. Let's get back to that.
Where's the big, beautiful bill? When is it? How's the progress right now? What's your timeline?
Yeah, the House finally passed our budget last week, which lays the foundation for that one big, beautiful bill. And again, think about this. This is the really big Trump agenda that's going to kickstart the economy. It's making sure, number one, we secure the border, we produce more energy in America. That will lower costs for families when you go to the grocery store, when you go to the gas pump. We also make sure that we don't have a tax increase on American families, because every Democrat voted no on that bill. What they did, they voted to put a $4.5 trillion tax on every American, not the millionaires and billionaires, by the way. Over 90% of Americans At the end of this year, if Congress takes no action, over 90% of Americans will pay more in taxes to the tune of thousands of dollars a year. And we're trying to stave that off. President Trump, I think we'll talk about that tonight. The bill's now over in the Senate. They need to move quickly on it, by the way. They can't sit on this thing for weeks because the entire Trump agenda rides on getting that bill moved quickly, not at a slow pace, the normal pace of Congress. We moved the House bill expeditiously. The Senate needs to do the same. The country's waiting. I mean, this was what the election was all about.
Very good. All right, Majority Leader Scalise, thanks. I might, I'm not going to be up that. I might, though. I'm going to watch part of it. I'm going to watch.
Oh, come on, drink a little Red Bull. Stay up a little bit later, and you're gonna like what you see.
Okay. All right. Thank you.